I think
I know it's a different climate.
They should
but
add a course in fashion school just for business.
absolutely.
Like it should be a whole semester.
Absolutely.
Like how do you manage your books, your tax?
So one is being realistic, right? And being able to manage your time and just accepting like sometimes life gets in the way
Yep.
and you're not able to create content.
Say that as a fashion, if you're starting a fashion business in Nigeria, right? You don't have to learn how to sew.
How do you then balance what you want to do and what the audience wants? Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Priscilla and this is Kim Dave. I have some sewing friends with me and they're going to be helping me to answer some of your fashion sewing questions. Now these are questions that you guys sent through on YouTube and on Instagram, so stay tuned, watch until the end, and let's have a conversation in the comment section down below if you learned something, any question you want further answers to, and let's just have a great time on this video. With that out of the way, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't joined the KDVAS fam already, and let's jump into the video. Would you ladies like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Tammy Silva. I'm a pattern maker and sewing blogger based in London. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Hi guys, my name is Ayatollah, the creative director of So Unique Badani and the content creator of DIY with So Unique Badani. I'm a dressmaker and I am based in London as well.
Thank you guys for coming. Hope we have a good time.
Yeah, excited. I feel like we will have a good
Yeah,
time.
and amazing conversation as well.
Yes.
Let's just jump straight into the questions. The first question here is from @JFlair. And the question is, how do you stay updated with latest fashion trends and styles? Because you guys make content around fashion at the end of the day.
All right.
Take it away, Ayo.
Wow. She's like, oh, no pressure. Just take it away. So I don't know. I feel like I'm more with style as opposed to trends, because I think that trends are very ephemeral, so they just for a time and then they go. But with style, essentially just making sure you find your style, what works for your body shape, what works for your body type, what you feel comfortable with. That's kind of like what I do. But again, in terms of like what's reigning or what's in vogue, TikTok helps with that. Spend 1 hour on TikTok. Well, if you're disciplined enough to spend just 1 hour, and you probably get updated about what's available. Instagram as well. So just use all those platforms. Pinterest is great as well. I like Pinterest.
yeah.
So yeah, that's how I do it.
Yeah.
How do you do it, Tammy?
No
No pressure.
I think Pinterest, I'm always on that. That's so helpful. And I think just to create like mood boards and stuff like that. Because what's most popular, what's most interesting will always kind of show up on Pinterest. And yeah, TikTok is an obvious one. I feel like magazines are just they're almost a bit like curated. And then once it's in print, it's out of date.
Yes.
So,
it's too late at that point.
Yeah, because how many months and weeks have they been planning it in advance? Obviously projecting for what's out now. So I think things that are more current is social media, because it's literally underground. As soon as it drops, people are wearing it. But I think, like you said, not to be too trend heavy.
Yeah.
I don't agree fully, because sometimes it's nice to engage in trends, because if you like something, and obviously if it's popular at the time, like, that's cool too.
Definitely.
It just happens to coincide.
That I agree with, obviously, 100%.
Yeah, some trends that you would actually just feel drawn to and then you just have a good time with.
Yeah.
Donna Buckmeyer 4995. And the question says, my question surrounds a very curvaceous lady, which we all know and love.
Yeah.
What are the tricks and secrets to drafting skirts, dresses, and trousers for their curves, so that the sides seam aligned directly with the sides of the individual, the hem is level with the ground, and the center back zips are flat against the back? Help. I've done all that I can do.
Oh, wow. Okay. So with plus size, you need to know your proportions. So yeah, people are plus size, but maybe they're pear-shaped. Y-shape is when they have broad shoulders, bigger bust, and they're smaller at the waist. So first find out your specific shape, and then basically the flat pattern needs to correlate with that.
Yeah.
So say for example, if you're sewing a dress, you need to draft broad shoulders, and say if you're busty, things like princess seam garments really allow you to shape around your bust area. Whereas side darts are a lot more difficult to work with because it just doesn't incorporate the fullness of the chest. With things like skirts, for example, I would say doing a full tummy adjustment. So that's basically where you accommodate for a bigger room for your stomach. And that will mean it's not going to have pulling on the skirt because there's enough space there. And it would mean the hem would remain the same. So I think those are my advice. That's normally what I incorporate when I make for clients and when I draft patterns as well.
Yeah. I think that when you do draft patterns, you kind of, you can obviously accommodate those things. I think one thing is I take something called the nape to waist measurement, which is different from your, shoulder to waist measurement at the back, because what you find is that the nape to waist measurement is why you then have, because some people use just the back measurement, and that's why you have that bulk at the back with the zipper. So I feel like that helps with that. And also when I'm doing like skirt patterns, with the skirt pattern is raised at the back, at the top of the back, it's just raised just a little bit because of the bum, and obviously is reversed for the bodice, right? And the bodice is longer slightly. It's slightly because it's slant when I draw the pattern, but then what happens is you don't notice it when you're sewing the garment because at the side seam it meets. So it's longer in front at the center front and shorter at the back, but then at the side seam they're equal. So I think that kind of works for it. So what do you do, Priscilla? Sorry, I'm just curious.
I love to incorporate darts to get rid of excess. So like around the neck, around the bust, around the waist as well. So I would say darts are like a very clever technique that we use all the time to remove any excess. If you're someone who is like wide on the hips but you have a smaller waist, you still want the garment to fit you correctly. So darts are your friend when it comes to like sculpting garments or your body. But you ladies have given some really really good tips there. Yeah. From Lugard Piece 93. Thank you for the thought, ma'am. For someone who wants to start a YouTube channel as a fashion tutor, could you give advice to how to plan content from foundation upwards? Like maybe basic pattern drafting or teaching on how to use a sewing machine. Thanks in anticipation. You both have YouTube channels.
Yeah,
she's like,
I'm like a YouTube newbie.
So more reason why you're suited to answer that question.
That person and I are pretty much only a few months apart in terms of they're thinking about it. I only just started YouTube a few months ago.
A few as in January, February, March?
Yeah, literally literally January. So it's been less than a year. But for me, I create content on Instagram and TikTok. So I've kind of carried over a lot of questions that people ask me on there over to YouTube. So I get asked a lot of questions about because I use an industrial sewing machine. So I get asked a lot of questions about that. So one of my first tutorials was how to use a Juki, how to use an industrial sewing machine. And someone asked me a very specific question, how to change the speed on there.
How do you do that?
And when they asked, I was looking on YouTube and actually
didn't find anything.
I couldn't find it. So I was like, you know what? And I made a tutorial on there. It's the buttons that's underneath the sewing machine. Yeah. So my one, there's a button there. It shows the speed underneath. The remaining two buttons are where you can change the speed. So that's basically how I plan it. What people ask me from my other channels, and it kind of deserves longer form content.
Right.
That's what I use to plan. Okay. And if I happen to be making something, whether it's for an event or for a pattern or for someone else, if I can incorporate a tutorial into that, I can kind of kill two birds in one stone.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice. That's good. That's a good one.
Yeah.
But pretty much, I think my answer is going to be similar to what Tammy's just said, because essentially what I use is something called search engine optimization. So a bit more techy, but yeah, you get it. I look at what people are searching for, essentially. What are people searching for? What do people want to see? Because the thing is, when you're a new creator, you have the fact that you're dealing with the fact that there's a lot of competition already. It's easier to break in when you're doing something there's nothing on. Like Tammy said, she made a video on something that, she basically couldn't find anything about. So essentially when people search for that, because people are searching, they'll find Tammy's video. And then it's easier for you to then become known, and then you can start doing what everybody does, right? I think that gives you larger fighting chance or higher fighting chance. So yes, search for like what's in trend. Also look at the season. So essentially, if you live in the UK, I'm not going to be making mini skirts in December.
No.
Nobody's gonna watch it. Well, if your audience is in the UK, no one is going to watch it because we're trying to keep warm. So you can consider making a quote. So think about that. Think about what's in fashion. Think about what's in trend, and then obviously look at what people are searching for. Yeah, that would be.
It's kind of like giving the audience what they want to see.
Pretty much.
But how do you then balance what you want to do and what the audience wants?
It's kind of hard because it's weird because there's a lot of things that people ask me for tutorials for, and I think, oh, this is so basic. I didn't think anyone would want to know. Maybe like piping or sewing an invisible zip. I kind of do those things so easily because I've been sewing for so long. But I need to have that awareness that people struggle with it.
True.
So it's not that I necessarily enjoy making tutorials about that, but I enjoy the fact that people find them so useful. And with me, say like this, someone's asking for piping. If I'm already, again, doing that, I incorporate it into it. So I get to make something I love, meanwhile making a tutorial about it as well. But I think it's about also shaping your audience to liking what you create. Yeah. So I imagine they follow me or watch my video because they like what I do. So if you think about it that way, you shouldn't try to chase what you think an audience would like. If you craft your own, they will like the content that you specifically make. So that's how I try to read it with it.
So it's kind of like curating your tribe.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then we kind of follow you, right?
But dropping bombshells. Bombshells. The next question is from shop_with Steph5340. Hi, good day, ma. I still have issues with cling finishing, like how the ready-made is done. I want my work to look better than the ready-made outfit. Thanks. So I guess like she's asking questions on like how to improve the finishing of her clothes. Yeah.
Oh, I think there's a lot of things that kind of contribute to clean
fashion. Absolutely.
I think people avoid pressing a lot.
People avoid it.
They feel like they can skip that step.
It's the worst thing. I still the moisture for me.
Really?
I do it, but it's the worst thing. I tell you for free.
And you make clothes. Wow, you are really in the wrong.
I do it. So the thing is, when I now don't have to, I get someone else to help me.
Yeah.
So if I'm going out, I don't have to iron. I'm just like, But the thing is, obviously, when you're sewing every single step,
you need to press those seams. Yeah.
So ironing is a massive one. And funny enough, there's a difference between, if I'm being pedantic, pressing and ironing. So ironing, you're moving the iron across. Pressing is
the seam,
you place it on the seam to open it up, but it also flattens that seam, so it looks super smooth. So that's one aspect of it. I think learning to do things like understitching that people miss as well to prevent the linings
from coming out.
From coming out. And honestly, learning to do a straight stitch. Like if you're doing a hem and the hem is like wobbly, if you know how to follow that line, whether it's an inch or half an inch, that would help to make things look really crisp. I mean, those are kind of the things that helped me initially. Yeah.
I think for me, the things that have helped me with like finishing is if you don't have an overlocker, I tend to line. So whether like this I'm wearing now, I've lined it with the Ankara itself because it's a jumpsuit. So I didn't line the bottom bit, but I lined it with the Ankara, right? And obviously, if you don't have the option of lining or you don't want to line, you can always use a French seam, which works really nicely when you're doing like lightweight fabrics, so chiffon or tulle organza. I tend to do a French seam because it encloses like everything. I also make sure to use like my overlocker from time to time. That saves me, especially when I'm doing something where I'm like, for the life of me, I can't be bothered to line it. I just overlock every single thing. But what I do is overlock it after cutting. So after cutting every single piece, I just overlock it or serger, I don't know, some people call it that, but overlock it and then join it together, and it looks really nice. And obviously, like she said, make sure you give it a good press, all the parts that need to be pressed, your darts, everything. And then when you're doing pattern as well, when you cut your darts, instead of having it float, you can actually sew it down depending on how you cut it, if it's shaped.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when you have your pattern and you shape it, then instead of that floating, you can sew it down and it just looks nice and everything. So they're little. Like it's not just one thing with finishing. It's
so many little things that you kind of need to pick up.
For many people, it looks like it then takes the outfit longer because again, if you're lining, you have to first sew the garment separately.
That's what I was going to say.
Sew the lining separately, not like you just sew both of them together. You have to do it separately, and then like the way a suit is finished, you do everything and it's all enclosed and it looks nice. Yeah. But then it takes time. So essentially, if someone is sewing and the garment looks nice on the outside, it could take them 20 minutes, but then it takes you 6 hours because you're trying to get it right. But at the end of the day, the finishing is different.
I agree. I think the biggest thing is to get that result, you can't rush it.
You can't
so true. Oh
and
my
it's
gosh.
weird because it takes a lot of time to get all those pieces together. You've cut it, you're ready to sew, but no, you have to serge it, and you have to do this, you have to do that. Just take your time with it and follow the process, and it will come together.
Yeah.
Preach! That deserved a round of applause. I don't know why. Next question here is from... sorry, please. If I butcher your name, please don't come for me in the comment section. I'm horrible with names. So I'll try my best. The question is from Aiko Faith 6821. What are the things one can do as a startup fashion business? More tips for startups in Nigeria, since we're Nigerians. What skill does one have to possess or learn to start up a fashion business? So this is more like fashion business. Yeah, I think this person is in Nigeria. I know you kind of, you started in Nigeria.
I would say that as a fashion, if you're starting a fashion business in Nigeria, right, you don't have to learn how to sew, but you should learn how to sew. You don't have to learn how to sew if you have your business on lockdown, like if you understand the business of running it. There's so many people that have fashion brands
and they don't sew. It's true.
So,
it's true.
Wow.
However, if you understand it, if you learn how to sew, you're at an advantage because what happens is then people can't hold you to their messy. Like they can't just say, well, I'm gonna up and leave, and then you're like, especially when you're just starting up, right? And I assume that if you're starting up, it's just probably you or maybe you and someone else, just a very small number. Then you're not at anyone's mercy. So essentially, if your staff is not available, you can still have your business running. But I would say that one of the things that I think I've learned from is you need to understand the business side of it.
True.
Not just the fashion. It's one thing to have the skill, it's another thing to actually know how to run a business, right? So having the skill is just one part of it. Learn how to run a business. Learn that you have to take risk. Learn what it means to expand. Learn that there's no family and friends. You need to learn how to say no, right? You need to learn how to price right. You need to know what's your profit margin, what are you trying to establish. So I think that's one of the things that I struggled with as when I reflected on my business, right? The skill part was great, but then in the business, I couldn't say after a couple of years, I didn't have that profit that I thought I would have. So I think that many times there's so many people doing fashion in Nigeria, it's fashion business, but they don't have anything to show for it because the business part is suffering. So that would be the part I would say focus on the business part. I think that when it comes to the skill, get your skill, obviously keep learning, but the business part is where you should focus on. That would be like my answer. But you do fashion business, so tell us what do you think?
I think if they should add a course in fashion school just for business.
Absolutely.
Like it should be a whole semester.
Absolutely.
Like how do you manage your books, your tax? Are you going to hire people? Like when you have a product that works, do you focus on that? How do you manage products that don't work so they don't consume all of there are all these things that you enter the business and be like, wait. It's like, what are we doing here? So I think there definitely needs to be a focus more on fashion business if you want to go into that as your thing. Or if you don't know, go back and, take a course.
Absolutely.
Work under someone who has that experience, or learn by yourself if you're someone who can actually study and get that information. But you're so right. It's we often overlook that part I think it's actually more important than knowing how to sew.
And you know how to do the business. All you need to do is be able to delegate, get people that can sew, because the skill is, obviously it's great having the skill, like I said, but then again, if you know how to run any business and you know how to run the business, you understand the business of it, you understand getting your customers, what your customers want, I think that you'll make it work.
Yeah, it is hard because when you're a fashion creator, you just want to focus on the creative aspects.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes it a bit more cynical when you now have to think of the money, the supplies, and everything that's involved. If you happen to know anyone that is good at doing that, and you can either afford to outsource it, that will be a good place to go. Then you don't feel like, I'm putting my time into doing these numbers when I just want to be designing clothes. But if you're not in a position to do that, I think learn efficient ways to get that done.
Yeah.
Whether it's using systems and stuff like that. In a business, you will have to eventually pay for things, right?
Yeah.
Because the idea is, I give you my money, I can have my time back.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes it does involve those expenses, and it's just something that you have to think about. And I'm kind of learning that as well, because a lot of things I just do by myself. But
Keep learning.
the time and everything is a lot, you know?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Mark, I'll leave your name on the screen. You left a few good questions here, but we'll just take one for today. And the question is, what are your most challenging experiences as a fashion designer, and how did you deal with it?
That's easy.
Okay, what's yours?
I think that understanding the value that I bring and learning how to price that value. I think that instinctively you want to lower your price because you want to attract customers. But what then happens is eventually you find that that's not sustainable.
Yep.
And then you revisit your prices and then you increase the price and then you lose the customers that you try to attract in the first place. Yeah. So you're back to square one. So understand your value, know what you want. There's so many brands that sell things for a ridiculous amount and I'm like, I'm not paying, £1,000 for that dress. But then you look at it, it's like they presented their brand to be like that.
Yeah.
And it takes time. It means that for the first few weeks, first few months, you might not have customers. But eventually when you do, people understand that's the standard that she is. So, I can afford that, I can't afford that. We don't need to fight. It's not that deep, And I think that that's one thing that was a challenge for me, getting to that point. I repeated that cycle over and over where I kind of, I wasn't getting customers. Okay, let's reduce the price. Then it'll come. And I'll be like, but this is not sustainable. Like I have no profit at the end of the day. And then I'm like, okay, let's hike it up a bit. And then it's a cycle. But getting to the point where you're just like, this is how much it is, it's fine. It may take 6 months, it may take 7 months. My customers will come and they'll know this is what this is my value. And they'll just deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think with my one, it's actually believing in my own ability. Like before, when I used to sew for people, after I was finished sewing, I would have so much anxiety about how it would fit them, would they like it, this and that. Yeah. And then my sister would be like, it's obviously going to look nice on them. Like, you made it so well. Every time they'll come, they'll try it on. They love the dress. Aww. Obviously, adjustments here and there, but it would look really nice. It would be a good product. And I went, like you went through your cycle, I went through that cycle so many times. Yeah. And now I'm to a point where I'm like, it's actually fine. And I trust in my ability. So that's something I've had to kind of work to overcome and kind of get rid of that anxiety that I feel, especially when it comes to making clothes for customers.
Word.
My challenge has to be money, managing like cost, income. I don't know, money. My money philosophy growing up was one that if I receive money, I want to hold on to it. Yeah. But with businesses, you have to learn to I know.
It will take loans.
Literally.
I mean, obviously, sensibly, but you have to learn to.
So I really struggled with that, and I still do on some days. But what I've done recently was I actually got a bookkeeper, really sweet lady. She kind of guides me on okay, maybe you should try this and do that. You should report this transaction. Maybe you can save here. She's experienced in that field, so she's able to give me her advice, which I find very helpful. George is also quite amazing with money. If I want to do any project, we'll just be what's the return on investment on this thing? Do you think it will make us enough money? So that has been my biggest thing, and I'm still working on till today.
I feel like it's a constant learning journey. I feel I decided to study business management for my master's, but it was only because of the struggles I had. And like you said, it's a cycle, but you got in better, you got in confident, and obviously, like you said, with money as well. And that's not just even in the business; it helps you with everything.
Life in general.
It's a great experience.
Agreed.
From the Jane Matthews, how do you manage your 9 to 5 with your business? Because I know both of you have 9 to 5s and both of you make content online.
Yeah. I think it's about being realistic. You really have to just be honest with yourself. Sometimes you think, when I come back from work, I can do this, I can do this, I can do that. Hey, before you come back and rest and eat, you don't feel like doing it. So maybe don't give yourself a million things to do. Just give yourself 2 realistic tasks. Film 1 TikTok, edit 1 YouTube video, and just keep it simple. I think it's so much better to give yourself almost like a low bar right, and accomplish that, then put 10 things on your to-do list and you don't accomplish it, and what that does to your psyche and your confidence is not good. And it makes you feel like, oh, I'm not getting this done, I'm not disciplined enough, da, da, da. But whereas if you build it up on a low end and then you just slowly can maybe add more as you find you're able to manage things. So one is being realistic, right? And being able to manage your time and just accepting like sometimes life gets in the way and you're not able to create content. Maybe you can't post every day. Maybe it's once a week.
Yeah, that's fine.
Maybe it's 3 times every 2 weeks. Your audience will appreciate that because they're like you specifically and what you create specifically. So be mindful of that. If you start with posting 10 times a day, you're going to attract an audience
that would expect that.
That expects that. So whatever you create, what's that line? Wherever you create, you attract, right?
Sure.
And you just have to stick with that, I think.
100% agree with you. I think the only thing I'll add is I feel like Tammy's covered everything. The only thing I'll add is remember that you're human and remember to enjoy and pace yourself. That might mean that, again, like you said, you have to be realistic. So I can't do 2 long form videos every week, but I can do 1 long form video and maybe 1 shorts, or repurpose the same long form video, whatever. Be realistic, but also remember to take time to enjoy yourself.
Similar to what you guys said, plan, rest, and pace yourself at a healthy pace so you don't burn out. Burnout is real.
And it's okay to take a break sometimes from content creation.
Yes. I've taken months.
There were some times when I was not creating anything. So it's like, don't take months.
No, don't follow me. I'm just saying, I've taken months.
But you came back. That's what
I
matters.
came
You came back.
Yeah.
Actually, quick question. What's the longest break you've taken off YouTube? Or like...
I say weeks.
Okay.
You just 2-3 weeks.
I took months. No, I took months. Not proud of it, but I took months.
It's okay. Life happens. You have to do you first before you can create anything. Yeah. Thank you, my loves. This has been so good.
I enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I learned so much from these amazing minds here with me. If you did, leave your thoughts, comments, and ideas in the comment section down below. I'm also going to leave all their links to their Instagram, YouTube, socials. Go follow them. Go support their work. They're doing amazing, amazing things. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having
me.
It was so fun. I learned so much. I feel like,
this was a good conversation.
I'm so glad we did this.
Yeah. Well, until next time, stay happy and healthy. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.